Next up on the tee, he's a golfer turned golf general manager for a really intriguing new course and property in Florida called Soleta Golf Club in Sarasota. It's Mark Rummings joining us on the Course of Life. Mark, how are you doing today?
Great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm very curious. I always ask people in your position who are in the game of golf for life. You have a lot of good playing experience. What's the navigation been like for you as a golfer, with the idea of playing golf for a living versus being in the golf business for a living? And what'd your path look like?
That's an interesting question. I think everyone's path is a little bit different. I think mine is a little bit different. I started playing golf very young. And it wasn't because my parents played. My brother actually saw a golf club down the street when he's 3 years older than me. And when he was 8 years old, said, I'd like to go play golf. And so my parents took him along, and there was an afternoon, once a week junior program. And so he would go every Saturday. And then when I got to be 8, 3 years later, I went along with Big Brother and just started playing golf and got really into it. So much so when I was 15, 16, that was all I really wanted to do. Dreamed of being a golf professional. I'm in Oxford, England. I'm in England. I'm not in the United States. Never been in the United States in my life. But you get mesmerized by watching the Masters on TV. Nick Faldo won the Masters. Would watch it late at night, and it was the dream to come to America and be a golf pro. So I took a golf scholarship and into a college in Florida. And I was out playing college golf for 4 years. And while I was there, I made a connection with David Ledbetter.
Legendary instructor who's been in the game for decades now.
Right, yeah. So back then, that was when he was teaching Greg Norman, Nick Price, Nick Faldo. He's really the number one golf instructor in the world. And I actually, after college, started working for him. So I worked for 15 years for David Ledbetter. It was the greatest experience of my life. So I went from dreaming of playing, and then I was to teaching full time in the Florida sunshine, 8 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. Still played competitive. What I mean by that, I was playing PGA, North Florida PGA events, like as a PGA professional. Played in the national championship. I actually did play a couple of PGA Tour events, qualified in, but I always had a job teaching, and that was my ambition in life. Was I got into teaching. Again, working for the number one instructor in the world, it was like incredible experience. Got to work with tour professionals, see him giving lessons. It was his academy was at IMG, which is now become a huge sport complex for. There was Nick Bollettieri tennis, there was football, there was basketball, baseball. And I ended up sort of getting sucked into the management side at that point. And I actually ended up being a business manager for the golf department. So we had 220 students. We were doing about $13 million a year. It's probably the biggest junior golf academy in the world. We had students traveling the world. We won US amateurs. Number of people, Paula Kramer won her first LPGA event before she'd even graduated high school there. So it was a really big deal. And that's how I first got into management. We had a new facility. We had to open a golf shop, so I was starting to get into the side of the business side, the classic golf pro shop side, running, having fitting bays. And so I wasn't just teaching full time. And I really enjoyed doing all the different things. Like as much as I love teaching, I like that variation. I was ready, I think, after doing teaching just every day, all day, I was ready to do some of these other things. So getting more into the business side. And most people that work as a PJ Pro, work at a club, often want to become a teaching pro and just do the teaching. For me, it was the other way around. And that's why I said my path was maybe a little different. I was teaching full time and then ended up going into the management side. And then I actually took a job at the Ritz-Carlton Members Club in Sarasota, where I was the head golf professional and director of golf. And I was a director.
Very cool. Wow. There's a lot of management experience there. And the thing I had to ask though is, a lot of people who have the experience of getting to play in PGA Tour events, usually that's kind of scratches more of the itch to wanting to play professionally. Why have you always leaned towards the business and teaching aspect of the game, even though you've had those experiences at the top level?
The playing really helps. I still play now in big section events. It really does help you with your students, gives you some credibility. Also, what they're going through and how hard they're trying. But I think I just saw, I grew up playing against Justin Rose and Luke Donald when I was 16, 17, and they were always a little bit better. The 2 tour events I've played, and I shot like 35.
What were they? What tour events were they, by the way?
I played at Bay Hill in the Bay Hill Invitation.
That's a brute of a course. Okay.
I shot 75 there. And then at Innisbrook, it's changed names a number of times.
Yeah, I've played that Copperhead course when I was much, much younger. Now they know it for the Snake Pit and that uphill 18th hole. Very cool spot.
Yeah, well, when we're in a tour event and you're on the back tee playing 16, 17, 18, it gets your attention. I remember birdieing 18 to shoot 71 on the second day to miss the cut, but I was very proud of how I got through the Snake Pit.
Very cool experience on the tour.
We redesigned it a little bit since then, but it's tough. Very tough.
Definitely, yeah. Those are cool tour experiences. I know you also mentioned the competition that you currently do. One thing that we cover here annually is the PGA Professional National Championship. So I was just in Port St. Lucie, where we brought on the Corbridge Financial Team of 20 that played at Quail Hollow as well too. And you have lots of experience with the section and qualifying for the event. Talk about the rigors of that event and how hard it is to qualify for the national championship like you have.
So national championship is really difficult. I think I've qualified 6 times to play in it. And it's a fabulous event. So obviously I have to play in North Florida. So it's a load of very, very good professionals. So it's hard to qualify. Then when you get to the event, there's over 2 courses to begin with, like 350 players, and they cut it down to 70. So I jokingly say it's the hardest cut in golf to make because typically on a PGA Tour event, it's 140 guys down to 70. This is 350. So if you make a birdie, you go by like 60 people on the leaderboard. But if you make a bogey, you fall back 60 places.
Very true.
And the hardest part for me, and you might find this amusing, and it sounds really bad, but being from Florida, I play all my golf in golf carts now. I mean, it sounds terrible. Florida heat, we take a golf cart. So then when you go and you play 2 practice rounds, because you play 2 different golf courses, then you play your first 2 rounds, and I've made the cut a couple of times. So you make the cut and you've got 2 more. Me walking 6 rounds of golf, I know this is absolutely silly. It should not be, but I don't do it for a living. Like Scotty Scheffler does it every week and makes the cut. And you think, Mark, it's only just walking. It really isn't, though. You're warming up. You're out there. You're really grinding, and then at the end of the round, you might hit a few balls. It's a full day. I don't have the stamina for 6 days. As bad as that sounds, and I don't know how. You got to respect these guys that do it week in, week out. We have another tour player who's a member here at the club. And he just told me he's going 6 weeks on the road, and one of them's playing the Scottish Open, so he's going to fly over. I mean, that physically, and I know all the people listening to this are going like, this guy's just a flake. But no, it is actually physically. And when I'm playing against the PGA pros, the Northern PGA pros, they're used to walking a lot more because most of the golf is walking. Now, I'm very good at standing. I teach, I've taught all day. I'm used to being on my feet, but walking, literally my calves the next day after 3 days of walking hills. Again, Florida's pretty flat. Anyway, I should stop this. It's making me sound like making all these excuses. But playing full-time is not as easy as people think.
And you're showcasing just how much of a grind it is for the top PGA professionals that do make it to that top 20.
That's
it's like
one event. That's one.
Cut
that's
after
not
cut
on
after
tour.
cut.
That's not a tour event.
I know. It's amazing. So you talked a lot about your playing career and your background in business as well, too. It seemed to be a lot in that South Florida area. So being in the Bradenton area, what was it that first attracted you to this golf and development going on in Soleta, and how did you first get involved?
So as I mentioned, I worked for David Ledbetter for 15 years, and he was part of the initial people that got involved in Soleta Golf Club. So he's a founding member here. He's an investor in the club, and so he was with the owners and him sat down at the very beginning and talked about this vision for this club. And that's why Nick Price is the course designer here, because he said, well, if you're going to design a golf course, you want Nick Price to design it. So Nick Price did MacArthur, one of the best courses in Florida. So the David Ledbetter and Nick Price connection there was why we ended up with Nick. And then because I still, David was a member of the Ritz-Carlton. I've kept in touch with him. He was like, if someone's going to run the club, you're going to want Mark to do it. It was a very nice reference for him.
Nice.
Was a business manager for him, so he got me involved. And when I, and I love David, and when someone like that says we got this incredible project, and when you hear about the project, the vision for the course, the vision for the amenities that we have that are going to start building next month, it was something. While I was very happy at the Ritz-Carlton Members Club, a fantastic facility, when I arrived there, it was all built and all done, and a lot of the tournaments, the member events, a lot of the things are set in place for how it's going to run. Well, when you start something new, it's a clean slate. We're starting our traditions. We're naming our event. You have full creative to set a club the way you feel it should be done.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I miss this opportunity, I'll never get it again. Especially in the area I've been now in Sarasota for 25 years. I married a girl from Sarasota. My son was born here. I always say that I live where people vacation. I mean, I'm completely spoiled to live in this like paradise right here on the coast. So it was like, when am I going to see such a wonderful opportunity in my hometown? And it's been incredible. And the course has turned out absolutely amazing.
People say those names. If you just put that together and you say, we have a new golf development in Florida, Nick Price is designing the course, David Ledbetter is helping with the academy. I mean, there's not much more to say after that. That's a recipe for success in the world of golf.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, you got the number one golf instructor and a former number one, Nick Price, who was really engaged in the project, was here a lot on property. It wasn't one of these people who just came in for one visit. I mean, he was here every couple of weeks for a couple of days, building every couple of, you do 2-3 holes at a time, see them get built out, come back, refine them. So yeah, this is a true Nick Price design. It's
well said. So Nick Price from Zimbabwe, President's Cup captain, World Golf Hall of Famer. He put this design together. And from what I understand, you just got the chance to play the course with Nick Price. And it was his first time playing the course as well, too. So I got to hear about how the day went and what were both of your impressions playing it during that round.
Yeah, so like a dream day, really. So he'd been on property since we've been open. We've been open since November, so here we are in June. But due to some shoulder issues and some eye issues, he hadn't played a course. So this was his first chance to play. It was last Wednesday. He came out, and he's 68 years old, and he still plays very, very nicely. Hits it dead straight. It still has the same tempo. If anyone knows his swing, it's that very quick up and down, right on plane. He wasn't happy about how he putted, and I thought he rolled it unbelievable. He's like, I didn't putt it, and so lots of game. What really blew me away about it was he was playing with his son. His son's a very good player. His son plays with him in the PNC in Orlando, but his son obviously hadn't seen the golf course either. So he stood on the tee and he told his son where the line was to hit it. And, I'm like, well, this is grown in. This, like maybe the bunker's not exactly where he thought it was, or he was 100% right. His son hit it a pretty long way. He picked the absolute line. So I found that really impressive that it wouldn't, maybe the hole's a little more right. Maybe you need to catch a little bank because a lot of stuff. He knew exactly. So I was like, not only did he envision how these holes laid out, it was built to exactly as he thought, and that is how you played the hole. And I just found that for 18 holes to get it 100% right. I thought, I've played the course many, many times. Like I knew where I was like, okay, at that length, he needs to hit it on that line. It's kind of over that corner a little bit more. And Nick, I didn't say anything, and Nick would point it out, and I was very impressed by someone who, in theory, had never played the course. Now, he'd walked it hundreds and hundreds of times, but to play it the first time and be that good was really neat. And then the second day, he came out and played. He had some guests, another former tour player, and Nick, our 17th is a drivable par 4. And Nick hit it to 2 inches and nearly had one of our first hole in ones, and it would have been on the par 4.
Oh, that would have been a plaque for sure if that had gone in.
Yeah.
Love that. Very cool experience from Nick. And the thing you mentioned about his precision with the design, it kind of reminds me of the way like musical artists can write hundreds of songs and they can tell you why they wrote this certain note in verse 2 of this one song. The details that go into the design of courses really show when someone who designed the course gets to pick out the exact perfect lines to plot their way around.
Yeah, yeah. And I was when he was building the course. It was I'd walk the fairway with him, and he'd be like, I'm designing the back of this green because you're going to be coming with a long iron. I'm gonna raise this up because so if you do go a little long, you won't get punished, because you're going to be hitting a long iron. And his design thoughts was there's no carries off the tee. So there's a tee box, or our forward men's tee, let's say, there's no forced carries. Now, off the back tee, there are some forced carries, but you're on the back tee. They're not that long for a back tee. So it's very playable for your average golfer, for your ladies golfer or new golfers. You've got big greens, but there's quite a lot of undulation, but lots of pinnable areas, which is what his other vision was. If he comes out, he said, Mark, if I come out and play like on a Wednesday, I come out Thursday, I want to see a completely different golf course. And what he meant by that is the pin would be because of the size of the greens and shape, it would be in a totally different spot. But also, he built all these tee boxes, and some of them are different angles. Even so, the yardage necessarily wouldn't change. But also, if the green is very, very deep, if the pin's at the back, I want the tee at the front. If the pin's at the front, I want you to push it all the way back, even for par fours. So we tried to honor that. We only have two men's tees out a day. We have a forward men's and a backward men's. So we can vary those two around.
Nice.
Depending where the pin was. And we have 11 different pins, so it's on 11-day rotation. So if you came out every Monday, it would not be the same pin on that Monday. And that was his request and vision for how he designed it. So a lot of people, and it's probably an overused term, say it's a really fun golf course to play. And really, it is a fun golf course to play. You're not going to chip from one side of the green off the other side necessarily. And, it's not that difficult. But if you don't chip it on the right tier, you're probably not going to get up and down. You're not going to make 7, 8, 9, and 10 and feel like you're kicked in the teeth. But it's still a tough track. And like I said, that's the word that people come away. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. We don't have any rough. That's the other part of the design. It's all native sand, which was found on property. So it does look a little bit intimidating in spots, but he made the fairways actually theoretically wide. But when you don't see rough and you see sand, you can actually think, oh, this is quite narrow. But you hit the fairway a lot more than you think. And then the white contrast of the sand, the sugar sand that's out here, the photos are absolutely, and the visuals are incredible out here.
Yeah, I've seen some of the photos, and I'm sure they don't do it justice. I look forward to seeing it myself in person, but it looks like a beautiful spot, and I appreciate the variety and the playability. There's tons of amateurs that are nodding with approval with what a layout like that sounds like in a tropical place. And one other pro that I wanted to touch on who is using Soleta right now as a resource, who's local to the area, is Nelly Corder. We just recently caught up with her and had her on the podcast at the KPMG Women's PGA. And I was curious to hop on with you before we press record to hear the reasons why a player like Nelly appreciates a course like Soleta. What is it specifically that has her going there to work on her game?
Yeah, so being in Florida, typically the fairways are pretty flat, so you get a lot of flat lies.
Yeah.
But someone like Nelly then has to travel the world playing at all these different golf courses, and once you get out of Florida, you're going to get a lot of balls above your feet, below your feet. Well, at Soleta, Nick Price designed the fairways very much like a Links British Open golf course. So it's always undulating. You really don't get a flat lie. So you could hit it right down the middle and have 130, but be on quite a little steep upslope, and then you got to figure it out. You can't just balloon it up into the air. And I was kind of surprised, but when she came out, she toured the facility. She joined straight away, and it was so that she could try the variety of shots. She felt like she didn't get tested enough from undulating lies.
Interesting.
And so it shows you the detail again to her game. They're always practicing. So for any eventuality, and I think tour players probably don't get enough credit for having to have the variety of game. So I guess when you see Rory McIlroy win the Grand Slam. You won a British Open, which is so different to winning the Masters, right? And then, then you see something like Open on the US Open, and then you go, well, there's only 4 people who have sort of done that in the modern age. You kind of get it, right? And so Nelly's trying to make sure she is ready to be able to travel overseas and play. But if it's up in Michigan somewhere, how hilly it could be. So you if you're looking to be an all-round golfer, you need to practice all the shots.
Definitely. Yeah. On a lighter note, one interesting thing that I do see Nelly post a lot on her social media, and I'm thinking it might be at Soleta, is she sees a lot of interesting wildlife interaction when she's doing her practice rounds. Give me a little lay of the land for what type of Florida wildlife you can see on any day out of the course, because I imagine there's a probably pretty good variety out there.
Yeah, we get a lot of deer. So we're actually in Mayaca. So we're just outside Lakewood Ranch. So we're just out of the hustle and bustle of the of Sarasota and the mall. We have a wonderful mall here and all that. So it was very peaceful out here. So it's surrounded by fields. So you do have a lot of the fields have cows and goats in. So you feel like you're in the countryside. So what we see out here is deer. Obviously, we have water, so that means we do get alligators. I haven't yet, but I've seen the footprints. But there must be a lot of bobcats running around, because I see the footprints in the sandy area. Been a lot of birds as well. I only saw once, and the Ritz-Carlton Club is maybe 15 minutes from here, but the town's grown out. But I did see a Florida panther out there one time. And so what's the challenge of seeing a Florida panther? And I looked it up, is they roam around a 200-mile area. So it's very hard to see them. So even if they're in your area, they might not come back to your area. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's not one out here, but we haven't seen one yet, because we would be in that boundary. So the wildlife's pretty cool, but they're pretty coy. They stay away. But at nighttime, I think they're all running around because you see all the footprints. But in the daytime,
that's the playground at night. As soon as
it's the golfers.
Love that. Again, it's Soleta Golf Club, Soleta. Be sure to Google it and look up the
Soleta Golf
photos.
Club. A little more. It's Seminole Indian word for crane, the bird, the crane, and that's our logo. You see the crane. So the story goes that our owners that bought the land, when they came onto the property, it was just actually like a pasture. It was really, there's some trees, but it was very much just a flat field. We moved about 1.3 million cubic yards to give it all the rolls and the hills. But the first thing they saw were two cranes walking across the property. And so that's kind of where they got the name. And then we have a par 3 course that we've made, and it's called the Colt.
I was going to ask, you got right to my next question.
Yeah.
Tell me about the short course as well.
Well, Colt is spelled COLT, is a baby crane. Because apparently they look like a horse, like, because they're all legs, right? So a colt is a baby horse, I think. So, but it's the same thing for crane. So we have a 6-hole par 3, but we can also convert that to a 9-hole layout. And we made that with a little bit smaller greens, a little bit more severe. It's supposed to be fun, bit more exacting. A lot of the very good good players, membership, a lot of the pros love to go over there. Yep. We also make it like, as in, yes, we have a tee markers and you could play at a 6, but it's really David Ledbetter wanted to be in like an area where you could find your own shot if you wanted. You could take a bucket of balls out there and fire it at the different pins. So it's multi-use, but most people like the challenge of just trying to set the lowest score or play the 9 holes. And of course, we use it for member events. And then we do have a putting course as well. So likewise, we have a very large chipping/putting green, which is 97 yard. David Leber, because I want a really big chipping green. Most people have a very small afterthought chipping green. So we have this 97 yard chipping green, and it's got 2 bunkers. One's got a high lip, one's got a low. He's got a little hole, a depression area where you have to chip up, and then he's got an area where you can chip and run it. So you can do some long putting there, but that we built a putting course as well, which again, it's got a little bit more undulation. I mean, a bit like St. Andrews, the Himalayas, they call their putting course at St. Andrews. So this has got some undulation, and I am actually finding that's getting more use. We're gonna light that and have some music on there when we get our amenities finally built.
Nice, yeah. That's the idea of making practice fun too, which I appreciate at properties like this.
And on the driving range, we also have the Top Tracer range set up. So every ball you can track, you can play games, you can record your shots. So we feel like we've got the practice. You've got whether you want to just come for fun or whether you're Nelly Corda, it covers the whole range of spectrum. We're completely spoiled out here. You have everything you could ever think of to improve your game, or just bring friends out. And we often see someone will play 18 holes with a couple of friends, and then they'll walk over and they'll play the par 3 after, with a beer in hand. And that's exactly what the vision was.
That's a great golf day, indeed. The course, the short course, the putting green.
We've got this wonderful golf course, but with the amenities we're building, we think we're kind of unique in the area. There are some courses in the area that are bundled communities, where you have to live there, and then they have thousands of houses and they have wonderful amenities. But this is really going to be the only true private club in our area that's got the amenities we have, and the par 3 and the short game, and you still get that private golf experience.
Well said, indeed. Mark Rummings with Soleta. We always finish talking about the clubhouse. So take us through the beautiful clubhouse at Soleta for a moment, and then finish and let us know what your 19th hole order is. Well, what is your meal and your drink that you'd love to have after a round at Soleta?
Awesome. So right now we're in temporary buildings, but you would never know it. We've got a bar area, we've got 2 locker rooms, we've got showers, but it's all temporary buildings that
getting the big one ready right now.
They've been decorated, and most people. We have a square where we have the music playing, and we have a beautiful outside area. But this is actually where the clubhouse will go eventually. But we're building, just starting really in the next month, our amenities, and the clubhouse will follow after. So we'll move into the amenities. And the amenities include a performance center that's on a driving range. So it's going to have 2 hitting bays. One's going to be a double hitting bay, putting studio, and there's going to be a full workout gym overlooking the driving range, as well as cold plunge and a sauna in the locker room area.
Love that.
The swimming pool is going to be built with a restaurant. And then we're going to have tennis and pickleball, making sure the pickleball is far enough away you don't hear that noise, So that's going to be just a little further down from the swimming pool area. Then we have our cottages that are going to be built. We have a national membership here. We have a number of national members. So we're going to build those. So once they are all built, we will move out of our beautiful temporary buildings and move into the performance center and start using our restaurant that's built by the swimming pool. And that's when they will build the clubhouse right here overlooking the 18th and the 9th hole. And that's one thing I said to Nick Price and Wayne, who was one of the other gentlemen and his design team. I said, I love the routing. I love a routing where you can see the first tee, you can see the driving range, 9 and 18 come up to the clubhouse, and 10 actually just goes off to the side. So everybody always comes back up to the center of the clubhouse, and the clubhouse overlooks that. Most people, nearly everybody stops at the turn because the bar and the square is right there. And then, you can say, hey, to their friend, and they can see it, and there's a great atmosphere. So when we actually build the clubhouse after, the plan is to keep the square because people have enjoyed it so much, and build a clubhouse. And really the clubhouse at this point is just another restaurant. It's going to be an area. There'll be a men's locker room and lounge as well as a ladies' locker room. But the amenities are actually have already been built at that time. So it's really just going to be a nice restaurant, nice area to hang out, overlooking and a private dining overlooking the 18th and the 9th hole.
Love that. What are the members ordering right now for their post-round meals and drinks? What's most popular?
We actually have a drink called the Crane, named after the Soleta bird. Our logo is blue, so they put a little bit of blue in it, but it's a vodka drink. A little bit sweet to it. And then our menu changes every few months. I've got an incredible chef and a team here. They work out of a kitchen now that has everything, but it's actually just a temporary kitchen. But it's actually you wouldn't be able to tell that. But they produce incredible meals. I think their roast beef sandwich is one that gets ordered quite a lot.
Nice. Okay, that's a good pick. Roast beef and the vodka cocktail at Soleta, all part of a huge golf community that's just going to get bigger and bigger. People are definitely going to be hearing a lot more of that name in Florida and beyond. Mark, thank you so much for joining the Course of Life, and I'm excited to see everything that comes from this club in the future as well.
I expect you to come down and visit me when you're next coming down this way.